Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I'm Banu Demir Pakel. I'm a faculty member in the economics department and also the director of Oxford Economics Summer School. As you know, the aim of this webinar is to provide an overview of our upcoming Fundamentals of Economics courses and spoiler alert, so we will be running two versions of it next year. So first of all, let me thank you for being interested in this course and also joining us today. Today you will have you will hear more details about the program, the course content, the structure, and you will also have a chance to meet our amazing tutors, Ines and James. So they will give you more details about the course content and structure. And we will also have a Q&A session in the end, so you will be able to ask your questions live. Okay, so what is the aim of this fundamentals course? So the course is designed to cater to a broad audience. Those senior undergraduate students who are considering applying for graduate programs. So this will be useful for those students to prepare for graduate studies and also demonstrate their commitment when applying for graduate programs. So if you are a senior undergraduate student who is lacking some strong background in mathematics and statistics, the course will definitely help you improve your math and quantitative skills, and you will appear as a stronger candidate when applying for graduate programs. But the course will also be useful for those who are currently enrolled to some graduate program, and also those who are working as researchers in economics. So if you think it would really help you to know more about the math and statistics in economics, the course will definitely satisfy your expectations. I'm not gonna go into details about the content and structure here, because Ines and James will later talk about the content in detail. But in short, the course has all the content that is typically offered in a graduate level math and statistics camp, but it will definitely go beyond it, as you will see in the introductory slides by Ines and James. So we are very proud and happy that the feedback that we have received so far on the course has been terrific. And you will have a chance to hear live from one of our alumni, Ellen, later. And if you have questions to her, you can also put that in the Q&A box. But she will be kindly sharing her experience about this course later. So as I said in the beginning, next year we will be offering two versions of the course. So in early April, there will be an online course, and in late July, there will be an in-person version, which will take place obviously in beautiful Oxford. So in terms of content and structure, the two versions will be almost identical. So there will be lectures as well as tutorials. This is the Oxford terminology, but this is basically hands-on training where you will be able to apply the material that is covered in lectures in more detail. So this year we also introduced, so as you can see, there's short breaks and long breaks. And next year, we decided to use some of the long breaks for inspiration sessions. So what are these? So there will be 3 research inspiration sessions, both in the online and in-person versions, where our faculty members will be talking briefly about their research agenda and give the participants a quick overview of the hot topics in related fields. So if you're applying for graduate programs, that will be very, very useful when preparing your statement of purpose. And if you're already a graduate student or researcher, that will give you inspiration about the next research question you may want to pursue. So the in-person version will take place in the Manor Road building, where our economics department is located. But for the in-person version, there will also be some fun social events, and we promise that our building is amazing, it's beautiful, but it's not really Oxford style, we acknowledge that. So there will be some fun social events that will be happening outside the Manor Road building as well. Okay, so that's all from me. I will hand it over to Ines. She will talk about the math content of the course, and then James will talk about the statistics module, and then Ellen will share her experience as an alumni. And as I said earlier, there will be a Q&A session in the end. Please use the Q&A function on Zoom to ask your questions. Okay, over to you, Ines.
Thank you, Banu. Let me share my slides. Okay, thank you, Banu. So as Banu said, I'm gonna cover the mathematical content of this course, which takes place in the first half of the week, both in the online and in the in-person session. So there are many good reasons to undertake graduate studies in economics. Banu pointed out to some of them, so you might have a passion for some of the fascinated topics that are covered in economics, from understanding problems with development countries, or how central banks work, can we help some countries grow, and so on. You might want to follow a career in some of these economic policy related organizations. It could be international bodies such as the IFM, or the competition authorities that you might be interested in working on, or you just might want to increase your job prospects in the private sector. Regardless of your motivation, if you make your decision to go and take some graduate studies, you should prepare for the admissions. And one of the key features for that, you will be required to have some background in mathematics and statistics. And why is that? The main reason is that in graduate economics, math is used as the language in order to explain how different variables relate with each other, in order to allow us to understand how different outcomes change when some of the underlying situations or parameters of the economy change. So it's very important to be able to engage with this mathematical language, to understand it, and to be able to abstract a little bit from the day-to-day life, and being able to translate that into a mathematical model that is going to allow us to look into detail, on isolate some of the features, and look into detail of what are the main implications of changing some of those variables, for example. Taking another feature is that taking a mathematical course and doing well on it also provides a kind of objective signal about your ability, right? So it's not only that math is going to be used heavily in a graduate course. It's just that being good at math is also saying something about, well, you are going to be able to do well in a graduate course. So the American Economic Association I mean, doesn't need to be the American Economic Association, but I'm just taking it as an example, recommends that students that are applying to masters in economics should have a foundation on these three areas: calculus, linear algebra, and probability and statistics. And we are aware that there are many undergraduate courses, both in economics, but not, I mean, it could be on something else. So you might be willing to do some graduate studies in economics, even though you might not have done some undergraduate in economics. So some of the undergraduate courses, I mean, don't have strong foundations on these mathematical contents. And the purpose of this first half of the course is to provide the basic mathematics that cover these topics. So a little bit more precise. So I mean, these are the kind of topics that we are going to see during the week. So we are going to start from the basics, and we are going to start building up, going through proofs and understanding, how we build those and getting used to this kind of abstract reasoning. So we are going to cover calculus, which is, functions of one and more variables, continuities, differentiation, and some of the main theorems that apply to calculus. And then we are going to move into linear algebra, and then go into probability theory. So this is what we are going to do in the first half of the week. As Banu said, you will have 2 lectures per day. You will have some study time to assimilate what we have seen in the lectures and being able to apply those concepts into some problems that you are going to be provided, and then there will be a tutorial to go over those problems. Ahead of the course, you will be sent some preliminary reading in order to prepare a little bit before joining the course. And then, as Vanu said, for the in-person one, there will be some extra activities. Actually, for the online one, some other activities as well, so such as the presentation of the faculty members. But yeah, for the in-person one, there will be more activities as well. So yeah, that's all I had to say. So James, I'm just gonna unshare my screen. Let me see, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Ines. So my half of the course is going to build on the foundations that Ines will provide you with, those mathematical foundations. I'm going to provide you with an introduction to econometrics. So econometrics really sits at the intersection of statistics and economics. So it rests on the mathematical foundations of statistics, but it relies on sort of the judicious use of economic theory to guide the application of statistical methods in order to answer questions that economists are interested in, to estimate the parameters of economic models. So something that distinguishes the way that economists use statistics from the way that statisticians use statistics is that economists are interested in causal questions. They're about questions about what would happen to some outcome if we were to counterfactually change a certain input. And they may have a model that describes how outcomes are related to inputs, and they want to quantify the relationship between inputs and outputs using data. So some of the questions that we will discuss in the course are questions like, do students in smaller classes have better educational outcomes? By how much would students' test scores increase if we were to put them into smaller classes? So we might have data on students' test scores at the end of the year and the size of the classes that they were in, the number of students per teacher in a class. But we want to know whether that mere correlation between that we see in the data between class size and test scores actually tells us something about how a change in the size of the classes that we put students in would actually affect their test scores. Other questions we might be interested in, which I'll also mention in my lectures, are looking at the effect of proximity to natural amenities on house prices, and more generally on the factors determining house prices more generally. A question that will be of interest to many of you would be, how choices about university and degree program affect your earnings in the future? This is a question that many labor economists have spent a lot of time working on. And again, this is a situation where we have data on individuals' earnings at age 30 or 40, and we have data on what university they went to, what sort of degree they did, and we want to learn about whether that degree choice that they made had some material influence and to what extent it had an influence on their earnings later in life. So we want to use statistical methods to give us precise quantitative answers to these questions. And also we want to be able to quantify the uncertainty surrounding our answers to these questions. So we might, on the basis of the data, get an estimate that people with graduate degrees and earn on average, say, £20,000 more per year than someone without a graduate degree. But there'll also be a lot of uncertainty associated with that estimate, and we want to be able to precisely quantify how much confidence we can have in the estimates that we get on the data that we have available to us. So Alice, could you advance the slide? Okay, so the challenge that we face is that the outcomes that we're interested in, so let's go back to the example of class sizes and test scores. The outcome is test scores that we're interested in, and we're interested in about how that's affected by class size, which would be X here. But there are many other factors that also affect students' performance. You know, the quality of the teacher, the quality of the school they go to, how much resources they have outside the home, and so forth. So there are all these other factors affecting test scores, affecting Y, which are also going to be correlated with class size. And we have to have some way of disentangling the effect that all these different factors have on test scores. We want to isolate the effect that class size X has on test scores. And the statistical method known as regression provides us with a way of doing this under certain conditions. So there are conditions that we will discuss in the course under which regression is going to reliably answer causal questions, under which, with the right sort of data, regression is going to allow us to say something about the effect, for example, of class size on test scores, or the effect of taking a university degree on earnings later in life. And so a lot of the first lecture or two is going to be about identifying exactly the assumptions that we need to make in order for regression to answer questions, causal questions that we're interested in. And the nice thing about regression is it also has a sort of a built-in way of automatically quantifying the precision with which these questions are answered. Okay, next slide. Okay, so then we'll also discuss sort of what other factors we should include in a regression model. So we have to make so I guess the next part of the course is going to be sort of more advanced regression. So discussing what other factors we need to include in the model in order to get a reliable estimate of the effect of class size on test scores, or the effect of university attainment, university degree choice on earnings later in life. And one of the limitations of regression in its most basic form is that sort of presumes that all the relationships between the variables and the outcome are linear, and we're going to discuss how we can relax that by allowing for nonlinear relationships between variables and an outcome. Okay. Next slide. Okay, and then as we'll also discuss, sometimes the assumptions we need to make in order for regression to deliver reliable answers to the questions we're interested in, sometimes those assumptions won't be satisfied, possibly because we don't observe all the relevant factors affecting the outcome of interest, so we can't disentangle the effect of these other factors on the outcome from the effect of X on Y. Or say there's a problem of simultaneous causation. So X affects Y, but Y also affects X. We have a problem of what's called endogeneity. So the final part of my lectures is going to discuss sort of how we can go beyond regression with observational data to still answer causal questions of interest in that case, how we could use an experiment, a randomized control trial, or exploit a natural experiment, or use something called instrumental variables to reliably answer causal questions in this case. And although I won't have time to go through that in the lectures, I'll also provide you with detailed notes of how to implement all the methods that we discuss in R, so you can actually go and use these methods on real-world data sets. And I will also provide you with a comprehensive set of notes to accompany these lectures.
Okay, thank you very much, James. And now Ellen, who kindly joined us today to share her experience from earlier versions. Thank you very much, Ellen, for joining us, and you can share your screen.
Hiya, so my name's Ellen, as said, and I was part of the Fundamentals of Graduate Economics course this summer. So I'm currently studying economics at the University of Edinburgh, and I'm currently in my final year. So I'm just going to briefly talk about why I wanted to join the course, as well as just some of the more general reasons that I think my course mates had. So there are a few reasons why I wanted to join the course, but I'm someone that's constantly asking why things happen. And I believe econometrics gives you the tools to be able to answer those questions. During my time at university, I've seen some really interesting papers and these econometrics to, come up with creative solutions to finding the answers to those problems. And I guess I was just inspired by that and I wanted to continue learning about it. And I think one of the more popular reasons as well for joining was to determine whether you wanted to do a master's or not, because it's a bridge between like the bachelor's and the master's. So it's kind of like a glimpse into what the master's might entail. And there's just that Oxford was also an amazing university. So I think, if you get the opportunity to learn there, you'd want to take it. And then I think a less obvious reason for joining, albeit a completely valid one, is that you can meet like-minded individuals. So I think it's not just all about learning, it's also about meeting people that have the same interests as you. What ended up as one of my favorite parts of the course was just, going to the pub and getting to know my course mates better. And then just as a quick side note to highlight that it's not just all learning, like we also did a college dinner and we went punting, and I think that just makes the Oxford experience very immersive. And my favorite personal activity was the walking tour. I have a picture of, All Souls College there, and I found out on the walking tour that supposedly it was inspired to create two towers in Lord of the Rings. So that's very interesting too. So I think, Oxford's just also steeped in history. So those are some reasons I joined the course, but I don't think it's limited to the reasons why I joined the course. I think everyone came with their own ones. And then I'm just going to discuss what I gained from the course. And I think, again, that depends on why you're joining. So I'm coming into my fourth year now. So I've felt the benefits of the course more or less immediately. So I've been using the econometrics that I've learned for my dissertation this year, and that's been really useful. And then just as a little background about me is that I have not had I haven't done a lot of maths before, and I haven't come across it a lot in my economics course either. And I think a lot of the students on my course haven't. So having done the maths at the fundamentals of graduate economics has been really useful because it's allowed me to bridge the gap between what I understand before the summer and what the masters is going to like expect of me. So that's been really useful as well. And then, like, as an example of how the maths is helping me immediately is that I enrolled onto a game theory course this year, and I've seen some of the maths that they kind of expect of you a bit more in the masters, and I'm glad that I was introduced to it before I enrolled on that game theory course. And then also just as another reason, it's just made me a lot more confident in being able to tackle some of these harder questions, and I guess how the experience is going to help me in the future is that I've been, looking at the job market now as a fourth year, and I'll be looking at jobs that involve econometrics a lot. And often in the job description, they'll explicitly say that they want you to have a strong understanding of econometrics. So I think that's been really useful as well as the maths. Yeah, so I think in that way, it's been super useful in a multitude of ways. And just to conclude, I genuinely really enjoyed the course, and it was one of my favorite bits of the summer. So I can look back on the summer and say I had a really great experience. And I think if you get the opportunity to do the course, you should definitely go for it because it was great. Yeah, so I think that's everything.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thanks a lot. So it is based on what you said earlier. So one thing we are yet to see is whether our former fundamentals graduates will become co-authors later on, given the networking experience. But we'll see about that. Once again, thank you very much for being interested in the course and also joining us today. And I hope you're even more convinced to apply. And this is our thank you slide, the last slide, and you can use the QR to just go to the summer school webpage. Thank you very much, and have a nice day all.